Dove Audio presents Sun Tzu's The Art of War, adapted by Stefan Rudnicki, read by Ron Silver and B.D. Wong, with Stefan Rudnicki and Shauna Zerbrug.
Approximately 2,500 years ago, in a time of political turbulence and great military activity, Sun Tzu, a philosopher general of ancient China, assembled his observations on warfare into 13 chapters, creating the classic work known as The Art of War.
This was a long time ago, and times have really changed, yet this book of the 13 chapters has not only survived, it has exerted an extraordinary influence on the modern world, perhaps particularly in the last 10 years or so. People of all persuasions, from all walks of life, buyers and sellers, soldiers and brokers, backers and hackers, in-laws and outlaws, all have found inspiration and sound practical guidance here.
The period with which Sun Tzu is usually linked, roughly the mid-4th to the mid-5th century before the Common Era, was a high point in the evolution of human wisdom and achievement. Among Sun Tzu's near contemporaries were Lao Tzu, Confucius, Zoroaster, Gautama Buddha, Pythagoras and Pindar, Heraclitus and Herodotus, Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Aesop, the prophets Ezekiel and Jeremiah, and Pericles of Athens. Religion, philosophy, music, art, science, and literature flourished. So did war and conquest.
There were fortifications and conflagrations, occupations and liberations, coronations and usurpations. Pharaohs, kings, and tyrants rose and fell. Empires were lost and won. For nearly 50 years, the Romans fought the Etruscans, and the Persians fought the Greeks. In China, feudal states were at almost constant war. Dynasties rose and fell with cruel regularity. In such a time, a fine balance had to be maintained between the traditional, peaceful civic virtues upon which Chinese culture had been built and other, more militaristic principles. Even Confucius, circa 551 to 478 BCE, who was probably a contemporary of Sun Tzu and who was known for his advocacy of peace, was quoted as saying, "If I fight, I win."
The historian Tzu Art, a principal biographer of Sun Tzu writing around 100 BCE, said,
"When the Duke of Zhou was minister under Cheng Wang, he regulated ceremonies and made music, and venerated the arts of scholarship and learning. Yet when the barbarians of the river Huai revolted, he sallied forth and chastised them. When Confucius held office under the Duke of Lu, he said, 'If peaceful negotiations are in progress, warlike preparations should have been made beforehand.'" Sima Qian also stated that
military weapons are the means used by the sage to punish violence and cruelty, to give peace to troubled times, to remove difficulties and dangers, and to aid those who are in peril. Every animal with blood in its veins and horns on its head will fight when it is attacked. How much more will man, who carries in his breast the faculties of love and hatred, joy and anger? When he is pleased, a feeling of affection springs up within him. When angry, his poison sting is brought into play. That is the natural law which governs his being.
Sima Qian also said of Sun Tzu that he was a native of the Qi state. He told this story about the art of war being brought to the attention of Ho Lu, the reigning king of Wu from 514 to 496 BCE. Ho Lu said to Sun Tzu, "I have carefully perused your 13 chapters. May I submit your theory of managing soldiers to a little test?" Sun Tzu replied, "You may." Ho Lu asked, "May the test be applied to women?" The answer was again in the affirmative, so arrangements were made to bring 180 ladies out of the palace. Sun Tzu divided them into 2 companies, and placed one of the king's favorite concubines at the head of each. He then bade them all take spears in their hands and address them in this manner. "I presume you know the difference between front and back, right hand and left hand." The girls replied, "Yes." Sun Tzu went on. "When I say eyes front, you must look straight ahead. When I say left turn, you must face toward your left hand. When I say right turn, you must face toward your right hand. When I say about turn, you must face right around toward the back." Again the girls assented. The words of command having been thus explained, he set up pikes and battle axes in order to begin the drill. Then, to the sound of drums, he gave the order, "Right turn." But the girls only burst out laughing. Sun Tzu said, "If words of command are not clear and distinct, if orders are not thoroughly understood, then the general is to blame." So he started drilling them again, and this time gave the order, "Left turn," whereupon the girls once more burst into fits of laughter. Sun Tzu said, "If words of command are not clear and distinct, if orders are not thoroughly understood, the general is to blame. But if his orders are clear, and the soldiers nevertheless disobey, then it is the fault of their officers." So saying, he ordered the leaders of the 2 companies to be beheaded. Now the king of Wu was watching the scene from the top of a raised pavilion, and when he saw that his favorite concubines were about to be executed, he was greatly alarmed, and hurriedly sent down the following message. "We are now quite satisfied as to our general's ability to handle troops. If we are bereft of these 2 concubines, our meat and drink will lose their savor. It is our wish that they shall not be beheaded." Sun Tzu replied, "Having once received His Majesty's commission to be general of his forces, there are certain commands of His Majesty which, acting in that capacity, I am unable to accept." Accordingly, he had the 2 leaders beheaded, and straightway installed the pair next in order as leaders in their place. When this had been done, the drum was sounded for the drill once more, and this time the girls went through all the motions, turning to the right or to the left, marching ahead or wheeling back, kneeling or standing, with perfect accuracy and precision, not venturing to utter a sound. Then Sun Tzu sent a messenger to the king, saying, "Your soldiers, sire, are now properly drilled and disciplined, and ready for your Majesty's inspection. They can be put to any use that their sovereign may desire. Bid them go through fire and water, and they will not disobey." But the king replied, "Let our generals cease drilling and return to camp. As for us, we have no wish to come down and inspect the troops." Thereupon Sun Tzu said, "The king is only fond of words, and cannot translate them into deeds." After that, Holu saw that Sun Tzu was one who knew how to handle an army, and appointed him general. In the west, Sun Tzu defeated the Chu state and forced his way into Ying, the capital. To the north, he put fear into the states of Qi and Jin, and spread his fame abroad amongst the feudal princes. And Sun Tzu shared in the might of the king.
Although the story is apocryphal, and Sun Tzu's dates around 540 to perhaps 464 BCE, as well as his authorship of The Art of War are in dispute, the events here described echo the tone of the book. The expendability of individual life in the interest of discipline and absolute authority seems unnecessarily cruel, and many modern translators and commentators are quick to suggest that these elements were meant to be tempered by more humane Confucian or Taoist principles. The fact remains, however, that the 13 chapters are about war. This is not a book of general philosophy, but rather a professional manual. It was meant to be available only to a select few, a kind of secret society of generals and kings, and not to the public at large. The book's influence spread slowly to Japan during the 8th century of the Common Era, and from there throughout Asia and into Russia, where it formed the basis of military thought for centuries.